What's interesting about information is manifold. They believe that information has mass, M-A-S-S, mass, like matter. And if information, which is throughout the universe, has mass, then it can bend light and do the same thing that they thought dark matter was doing. So now what they're thinking is that the universe is composed basically of information. So that's a new area. I will digress and say that, my approach is multifaceted. Physicists, as brilliant as they are, sometimes can't see the forest for the trees because their whole orientation is physics. Philosophers can see a much broader picture, but if all they have is their philosophy, they then might miss the implications of what science and physics reveals. Then, if we take Zen, Z-E-N, and Zen does not incorporate the findings in physics and in greater philosophies, you've got the same sort of tunnel vision. So what I have done and where I come from basically is, all the way back in college, I majored in political philosophy, theology, and philosophy, and spent the better part of my life, including when I was in law school, by the way. I would read through my assignments. As soon as I was done, I would go right back to my philosophy. And I was reading Western philosophy, Eastern religious beliefs, Zen, Buddhism, and then the literature from the esoteric authors on the way of the warrior, which has nothing to do with warfare. It represents basically a war between the ego and the spirit, by the way, that's a whole nother topic. And what led me to speak my original book back in 2003, I guess. And then, of course, starting in 2006, we began videos based on that book, right? So what happened is, I would read not through the mathematical aspect, but I would read, my physics, including findings in quantum physics, also called quantum mechanics, the special and general relativity of Einstein, ancient religious and philosophical beliefs, Zen Buddhism, and I began practicing a very esoteric form of martial arts that arose out of Okinawa, and had a very esoteric aspect to it. Then, coupled to that, I began studying the writings of Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff was born in the 1800s and was very well known at the turn of the century. And his is the way of the warrior. And then much more recently, I say recently, 30, 40 years ago, Carlos Castaneda's series, where he would interact with a Yaqui Indian named Don Juan. Don just means Mr. or Sir. Don Juan Matus, M-A-T-U-S, who was obviously a spiritual teacher. Then, on top of all of that, I discovered the Seth materials. What's my point? And this is where I diverge from all the others. Science's conception of matter.